on the screen for a long time, and I apologise to Frank and Esther. So it's a very great pleasure now to introduce Esther, who's going to give a Debartora for us.
Scott, but can you please mute everybody first?
Yes, we'll ask our technical director.
Consider it done. Esther, you need to unmute yourself. Esther, you need to unmute yourself.
Is that better?
Yes.
Good. Good, everybody can hear me. Okay, thank you, Rochelle, for your introduction. This week's Devar Torah is given in memory of my dear mother-in-law, Sarah Bat Yitzhak, whose birthday would have been today. Though not formally educated, she left school at 14. She had cycle, wisdom, and a very caring and loving nature. In the Sedra Meikeitz, we find an account of Pharaoh's dreams and his endeavors to understand them. The first dream concerned 7 fat cows which emerge from the River Nile. They are devoured by another 7 cows, also emerging from the Nile. These cows appear thin and emaciated, but remain so even after they have eaten the fat cows. The second dream concerned 7 plump ears of corn growing from one stalk that are swallowed by 7 ears of thin and wind-beaten ears, which remain unaffected in size. Pharaoh's magicians were unable to satisfactorily interpret these dreams. So it was that the baker who had been imprisoned with Joseph remembered that Joseph had interpreted his dream and that of the butler. But both interpretations and their outcomes were realized. So Joseph was brought before Pharaoh. Joseph advised that the dreams were warnings, that 7 years of plenty would be followed by 7 years of drought and terrible famine. Pharaoh accepted these interpretations, but Joseph did not rest on his laurels simply as just a soothsayer. He heeded these warnings, suggesting the necessary action to be undertaken to avert such a catastrophe. Joseph is appointed to high office so that he would be in a position to implement new laws relating to the supply and demand of food. Let's briefly look at the legislation introduced by Joseph. It was in effect a 14-year plan. Joseph appointed his son Manasseh to oversee the implementation of the laws. First law: during the 7 years of plenty, the harvests were abundant and the Egyptian storehouses overflowed with grain. Joseph ordered the collection and storage of 1/5 of all the produce. During the 7 years of famine, Joseph's laws are wise and equitable. They show a deep regard for his fellow man that was rare among other rulers that then, not only then, but even today. He did not favor one human being over another. The law was applied regardless. So it was that the distribution of food would not be limited to Egyptians only, but would be sold to the needy of any country. Indeed, the famine struck not only Egypt, but also Phoenicia, Arabia, and of course Canaan. and other parts of the world. For the official was not permitted to hand out grain to a slave sent to make a purchase. Grain could only be sold to the master of the house or to a family member. In other words, a direct sale, not through an agent or representative. No one was to receive more than the load which one donkey could carry. Grain could only be purchased for personal or family use. One who acquired grain for commercial purposes was subject to the death penalty. These last three laws discourage resale at a profit and promoted fair shares among all the peoples. No one was to benefit from the distress of another person, whoever they were. Another law which firmly controlled the fair allocation of grain was that the identity of anyone who arrived in the country to buy grain had to be established. His name was recorded and put on file. This strict provision enabled Joseph to be forewarned of his brothers' comings and goings to and from Egypt. Today, famine plagues the world due to climate change and wars. We urgently need another Joseph to oversee and fairly distribute our limited resources to all the peoples of the earth. Shabbat Shalom, and enjoy the rest of Hanukkah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. That was so interesting, particularly from the law making, to start lawmaking. It was very, very interesting, and to do with Joseph. Thank you so much indeed. And so that's a very great pleasure to invite Frank to lead us in Kabbalat Shabbat. And I apologize to everybody if I have to leave before the end. So wish everybody Shabbat Shalom and Hanukkah Sameach. Good to see you, Frank.
Thanks, Rochelle. I would love to say how lovely it is to be back in London. We left 25 degrees behind in Israel and came back to scraping ice off the cars, and now the floods of Noah proportions. So having said that, it is still nice to be here and be amongst all our friends. And thank you for having me this afternoon. As usual, I guess we start with Yedid Nefesh, and please everybody join in, sing along with me, and let's see how we can get into the spirit of this very busy Shabbat we're going to have. Yedid Nefesh Avrakaman Meshoch Abdecha Eretzonecha Yaretz Abdecha Kamo Ayal Ishtachabe Mol Hadarata Yeravlo Yedidotecha Mino Petzuf B'chol Tam Adonai Ziv Haolam Nafshi Kolat Ahavatzecha Ana Elna Refana La Barot Lam Zivecha אז תתחזק ותתרפא, והייתה לה שמחת עולם, ותקיימונה רחמך, וחוסנה בין אהוביך. כי זה כמה נחשפתי, לראות בתפארת עוזך, אליך חמדה ליבי, מחוסנה ואל תתעלם, יגאלנה ופרוס כביבי עלי, את סוכת שלומך, תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מהר אהוב כי למועד, וחננו כימי עולם. Bam 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 dai dai lam bam bam bai da lan dai 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 yam bam bam bai yam bam bam bai yam bam bam bai lam bam bam ba 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 yam bam bam bai da lam bam bam bai da lam bam bam bai yam bam bam ba 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 yam bam bam bai da lam bam bam bai da lam bam bam bai lam bam 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 bai. Ya na 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 ya la 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 na na ya na 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 ya la 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 yam bam bam ba da la la da 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 la da 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 ram da ba 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 ba. We continue with Kabbalat Shabbat. L'chun ranana l'Adonai, l'tzur yishenu. Come up on a bit of technology. Arba'im shana kud bedar ba'omar amtoi levavhem. Naim lo yadu drachai, asher nishbati v'api, im yivon el menuchati, shir l'Adonai shir chadash, shir l'Adonai kol ha'aretz, shir l'Adonai baruch Hashem yom yom. Yismachu hashamayim v'tagei haaretz, yiram hayam umlo, yalos sadai v'chol asher bo, az yiramenu kol hatzeyar, lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel b'tzedek, V'amim be'emunato. Ohave Adonai sinura, shomen avshot chasidav miyad reshaim yatzilem. Or Zerul Tzadik, or Yisrael Simcha, Simmachu Tzadikim Adonai, V'odu L'Secher Kodesho, Mizmo Shir Adonai Shir Chadash, Ki Niflato Sahoshia Lo Yimenu V'Rakachot. When Israel V'Kod Yiram hayam umlo tevel v'yoshvei ba narokim chauchaf yachad harim yaraneinu lifnei Adonai kiva nishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek yamim b'meisharim Adonai malach yigzu amim yoshei keruvim tzonut haaretz. Ba'amud anan yidaber aleim, shomeru eidatav b'chok natan lamo. Adonai Eloheinu, Ata Anitam, El Nosei Ayita Lahem, Rokem Al Alilotam, Rohanamu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'yishtachavu, Lahem. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו מזמור לדוד. אבו לאדוני את בני אלים, אבו לאדוני שמו ישתח ולהם כל. כל אדוני יכולל איילות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו מרכבו. אדוני למבוש, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני לא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמו וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלך, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה מחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפיכה. רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי. על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קורבן נפשי גאלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, היווה אורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי. מך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנית העיר על צילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ויורים שיסו שוסייך, נרחקו כמבעלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמסוס חצר על כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabla, Yamin usmol tifrotzi, V'et Adonai taritzi, Al yad ish ben parzi, V'nismecha v'nagila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabla, Moi v'shalom na'ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzohala, Toch emunei am skula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabla.
Shakaya.
Shakora, Frank, thank you. I'm still
Thank
here,
you,
so
Frank.
wonderful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very enjoyable. Thank you so much. It's good to hear you again, everyone.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Frank.
Esther. Thank you, Rochelle. Bye.
you.
Have a lovely day. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Finish with Shabbat Shalom.
Wait a minute.
Kodesh
Wait a minute.
Tov.
Wait a minute. Frank wants to do.
No. I know I haven't been here for a long time, but do we still see anything else? Do we still sing Yudal at the end of this?
Yes, that's right. That'd be lovely, Frank. Thank you very much.
Perhaps just before we finish with just before we finish with Yudal, just to sing something else. Someone said that if I was doing this tonight or this afternoon on Zoom, could I sing something that might be a little bit seasonal?
Yes, that'd be very nice, Frank. Thank you.
How are you?
A nice encore. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, can we? Someone is not on Zoom and I can hear a conversation. So, if we're going to sing something seasonal, it's very difficult because it's Hanukkah.
That's right.
It's Erev, you know what?
Yes.
But I think what's perhaps seasonable here for us is the center of the week and where we are.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like all wonderful cliffhangers. When you're watching something on TV, the thing just gets to the pinnacle and then the titles roll out and you have to tune in next time to see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's not something new for TV. This happened from last week's Sedra into this Sedra, and that's where they got it all from. Because last week, Yosef had interpreted the dreams of the butler and the baker. And he said, once you've done everything, remember me, who I am, don't let me rot in prison, and let me come out.
Yeah.
The butler was restored. The baker was, alas, to bake no longer. And then what happened was they forgot all about Yosef, and they left him languishing in his prison cell. And with that in mind, I'd like to, just before Yigdal, finish with Adon Olam.
I got sushi the other day, I ordered, and I got the order for the bakers this morning. Donuts and everything, and herring egg sandwiches.
Can we do?
Everybody's muted.
Morris, remute everybody and then
Yes, please.
We do though. We
Thanks, Morris.
So as I say, with Yosef left rotting in prison, we've got to come to shul tomorrow to hear how the story ends. But let's pick up where we left off last week in this wonderful cliffhanger. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nira V'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azan Elech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu haya v'hu oveh V'hu yeh b'tifara V'hu echad V'ein sheni L'hamshir l'olam B'ira B'li tachlit V'lo Yisra, V'hu Eli v'chai go'ali, V'tzur chevli ba'ed Sarah, V'hu nisi umanos li, Menachat kosi meyom mekra, meyadon kidochi, Beit Yisham ve'ira, Me'ochi gaviati Hashem ali ve'lo ira.
Wonderful, thank you.
Let's conclude with Yigdal, I think. We'll find. Yigdal Elohim kain yishtamach nimsa b'einei tel metziuto echad v'en yachid k'yichudo ne'lam v'gam misof la'achtuto ein lo dmut haguf v'eino guf lo naroch elav kedushato kamo l'kol damar asher nivra rishon v'ein rishit l'reishito Ino Adon Olam L'chol Notzar Yoreg Gedulato Malachuto Shefer Vuato Netano El Anshe Segulato V'tifarto Lo Kam Yisrael K'Moshe Od Navi Umabit Et Tmunato Torat Emet Natan La'amoel Al Yad Nevi'o Nehema Beito Lo יחליף האל ולא ימירתו לעולמים לזולתו צופה ויודע סתרנו מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו גומל איש חסד כמפעלו נותן לרשע רק כרישתו ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו לבדוק מחכה קץ ישועתו מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו.
Go, Frank, go.
Oh yeah, thank you, Frank.
Thank you very much, Frank.
That was lovely. Thank you. Shabbat
All
shalom.
the
Good
best.
job.
Thank
you
very
Shalom
much.
to everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
shalom.
Chag Sameach.
Shalom.
Chodesh
Sameach.
Tov.
All the
Shabbat
best.
shalom.
Bye.
Like Esther,
Thank
Shabbat
Thank you,
shalom.
Esther. Thank you, Boris.
Bye.
All the best. Bye.
What happened to
Thank
Silent
you, Morris.
Night?
Thank you, Morris. Sorry?
You're
What
welcome.
happened to Silent Night or Away in a Manger?
That's not once. That's only when the recording's gone off, Lee.
Oh, okay.
You might have to wait for that. But it all
Okay,
does fit.
thank you. Terrific anyway.
Thank you.